I think someone is playing with me. This is going to sound a little crazy, but I need some advice anyway. I just wanted to start by saying that I've never had any problems with paranoia, delusions, or psychosis, and I don't believe in ghosts or anything like that. I'm also 35 years old now, so it's unlikely that those types of mental issues would arise at such a late age. That being said, I feel like I'm going crazy. I'm pretty sure someone moves small things in my apartment when I'm not home. I live alone, and no one, as far as I know, has a key to my apartment. I have 2 keys, and both are in my possession. I've checked several times. I've tried putting glasses and plates on the table as a test before I go to work, and have taken pictures of them to compare with the pictures when I get home. So far, I've not been successful in proving anything. The most obvious things that I've noticed that have moved are a plate that I have breakfast on that day moved maybe 30 centimeters from where I put it. Candles have moved from the center of the coffee table to the edge of the table. And a shampoo bottle that has moved from one shelf to another that I never used to store shampoo on. There are several other things that I have noticed, but they're very small things that maybe or maybe not could be me now that I'm so aware of where everything is. My ex-boyfriend had the key to my apartment for many years before we broke up 2 years ago. We didn't fall out, and he has a new girlfriend now, so I'm 99% sure that it's not him. He also works in Copenhagen now several days a week, while I live in Jutland. I've asked him on days where things have moved to where he was, and he's been in Copenhagen all those days. He shared his location on Messenger, so that was enough. What would you do? I have no evidence of anything, and in principle, I could have been sleepwalking or something and just not noticed the changes until I got back home from work. I occasionally sleepwalked as a child, but as far as I know, it hasn't happened in maybe 25 years. It's starting to get pretty creepy. In the comments, there is a well-known Reddit thread that sounds very similar to what you describe. It turned out that the person had severe carbon monoxide poisoning that created paranoia and delusions. I would strongly advise you to see if you can find somewhere else to sleep for the next few nights and then buy a detector. They're available at Bauhaus and the like. Maybe it's not, maybe you're just forgetful, but if it is carbon monoxide, you're messing with your life. OP says, thanks, I just Googled it. I'm staying with my parents tonight and then I'll buy a carbon monoxide detector tomorrow, just in case. Black Seal replies, if that doesn't work, then you can buy a wildlife camera and set it up. It takes pictures when there is movement, so you can see if you're doing it in your sleep or what. And now for the update. Hi again everyone. A lot has happened since I wrote the post. I've figured out what's up with this situation. I bought 2 cameras and set one up in the living room/kitchen and one in the entrance hall. It turns out my apartment actually has 3 keys and not 2. My neighbor, also 35 years old, apparently looked after my previous tenant's cat occasionally and had a key to their apartment. She didn't return it after they moved out of what is now my apartment. We were pretty good friends to start with when I moved in, but she became more and more clingy to the extent she would call up to 15 times a day and talk for over 4 hours in total per day. I couldn't even leave the apartment without her wanting to know where I was going, and she would get angry if I didn't respond immediately to her messages, if I was asleep or busy. There was so much drama surrounding her that I couldn't take it anymore and chose to completely cut off contact. She has respected that for the most part, or so I thought. It turns out that she's let herself into my apartment and has gone through my cupboards and drawers, and apparently deliberately moved my things around to make me paranoid. She can hear when I go in and out of my apartment because her entrance is only 5 meters from mine. That's why she always knew when I wasn't home, even though I work shifting hours. I confronted her and said that I would call the police. She panicked and contacted her father, who came over to me. He's a doctor and said that she has borderline personality disorder and refuses treatment because she doesn't think that she's wrong. He said she's impulsive, outwardly reacting, and often feels a strong urge to revenge herself on people who she feels have treated her unfairly or let her down. This has apparently been a theme throughout her life and almost all her relationships, romantic and friendships. He practically begged me not to call the police and said he would do everything he can to prevent anything similar from happening again. I got him to pay for a locksmith to change the lock, and I said that I would report her to the housing association, who would then report her to the police if she didn't voluntarily move out of the apartment as soon as possible, because I don't want her as a neighbor anymore. They both accepted that, and she has now chosen to move back to her parents at the end of February. So the ending was relatively good for me, albeit very chaotic. Bushy Shrews says, "Holy shit, the fact that there actually was someone rifling through OP's apartment for real is just so creepy. And it could have been way worse than just moving stuff around too, like all their important documents getting stolen. It could have been even worse. Apparently OP is diabetic. The crazy neighbor could have stolen or messed with her insulin. It seems the father is really doing a disservice to his daughter by protecting her from her actions. Taking revenge out on people is not a habit that people should be fostering. It's classic BPD symptoms. Her father is quite literally feeding into her mental illness by shielding her from consequence. It's Europe, so if the police got involved, she'd have a good chance of being compelled into treatment, which is what she needs. To be fair, that really depends on the country. But Denmark has a pretty good track record as far as I know. Well, unsettling story, to say the least, OP. But I'm glad that you took the advice of the comments and you set up cameras to catch whatever the hell this was. That was a serious violation of your safety and autonomy. Deliberately trying to make someone feel paranoid is psychological terrorism, I'd say. Psychological harm, yes, but I'm dramatic, so I'm gonna bump it up a notch. Also, nice. Her dad just gets to come in and excuse her behavior away and is like, please, please, please don't call the police. I love my BPD daughter. She's a threat to the community, but you should never, ever, ever hold her accountable for her actions. OP, I'm gonna need you to call the police, come back and tell me what happens, because what do you mean her doctor father is like, yeah, let me keep enabling this? Ah, fuck no. Our next post is by user Shaka Poopoo, and it's titled, Wife's Friend. So my wife and I have 2 daughters, and have been together for almost 20 years. She took up ballet this past year, and really loves it. She's been stuck with finding a physical activity that she enjoyed, and had danced when she was younger, so this was a perfect fit for her. She became very close with the other adults in her class, especially her instructor Rachel. She is single with no children, but according to my wife, has dated a lot of younger, effeminate men. When I first met Rachel, my impression was that she was a lesbian. That was also the impression of some of my wife's other female friends as well. My wife insists that she isn't, but right or wrong, that was our general takeaway. Obviously there isn't anything wrong with that, but she has really latched on to my wife. They see each other at dance class about 4 times a week and hang out a lot afterwards and in between. After class, Rachel has her over to watch TV shows and they constantly text throughout the day. Just last Friday, after spending all day with her decorating her house for Christmas, she texted me last minute that she was going to stay longer to watch Christmas movies with her. She has inserted herself in our lives in a way that isn't normal for me. When I go out of town on business, she comes over to our house and spends the night, and even brings her pet ferrets with her. My opinion is that Rachel is emotionally love-bombing my wife. She is naive about her feelings, insisting she's straight, but admits to enjoying the extra attention. I don't think it would ever turn physical, but a lot of the things that she and I used to do together, she is now doing with her. My wife's other friends have expressed concern about the intensity of their friendship as well. I've always supported her having friends, but I'm not sure how to move forward. I have a few close friends that I see on occasion, but they're all married with children, like we are, and are busy with all that entails. I just really miss my wife. In the comments, Beautiful Boot says, have you told your wife that you miss her and you want to do those things with her? If she values you, then her response would be that she wants the same thing. Then you wouldn't limit her, but expressing your desire to be more in touch. I would be concerned if she doesn't want to spend more time with you, considering that she has escalated her relationship with her friend. Then it sounds like an affair. It's easier to hide an affair in a same-sex relationship, since you may have looser boundaries about overnights with women compared to men. But be aware of the signs. It wouldn't be the first time a woman leaves for another woman. I don't think I could ever get my husband to willingly decorate the house with Christmas stuff or watch Christmas movies with me. OP, I would personally be so sad if my husband told me to end a friendship with someone who wants to spend all this time with me doing stuff that I like to do, and then my husband wasn't willing to fill in doing those same things. I sometimes feel kind of lonely in my marriage because he genuinely hates my hobbies and is so busy gaming. Having a bestie that wants to do stuff would be so nice. If I got one and hubby was jealous that I was finally having fun and not lonely, it would really hit me hard. OP says, she decorated her house with her. Christmas has always been special and sacred in our home. I spent 3 days hanging lights and putting up the tree in our home. We have a yearly tradition of watching our favorite Christmas movies as a family. Just 2 nights ago, I suggested that we all watch some together, but my wife said that she was tired and went to bed. So it was just me and the girls. Also, we went as a family last Saturday to see the Nutcracker, but she and Rachel are going again to see it together this weekend. Rucklam says, well, you know your wife. Will she at least entertain discussing your concerns without it leading to a fight? OP says, we discussed it last night, not the first time, and it led to a fight. We made up, but nothing has been resolved. She is going through perimenopause and said it makes her feel insane. We're trying to get her treatment for it. I told her that once she has some relief, we can come back to this and work on it. GA3255 says, tell her you miss doing stuff with her, but don't just drop the problem on her doorstep. Have and make a plan to do things with your wife. Clearly, your wife has free time, so plan to spend some of it with her. Plan and take her on a date. Go away for a long weekend. OP says, I've done all that. This has been going on for several months already. It seems she's enjoying spending time with me less and less. Every opportunity she has to go to a class or just hang out with Rachel, she takes it. And now for update 1, OP drops a bomb. D Wolf says, show her this post and responses. This may show her how her actions are affecting her relationships with you and the kids. Where does the friend sleep when she stays over? What are the kids' feelings on this situation? Do they see this as strange? OP says, they sleep in the same bed. My kids seem indifferent about it. They're closer with their mum. BK2747 replies, okay, OP, all the evidence is in front of you, and I scrolled far enough to find that 2 grown women are co-sleeping. I know you were born at night, but stop acting like it was last night. Like, what are we really doing here? Are you the man of the house or not? And I'm not even suggesting that she end her friendship, because this is obviously more than that. Your wife needs to make a choice. Her family or her girlfriend. No in between. Wait, what? Yeah, that's a red flag for me. Marital bed is for 2 people only. And now for the next update. So I picked up our daughters, 14 and 12, from school yesterday, and on the way home, I just point-blank asked them what they thought about Rachel. I'd never discussed her with them before, because they always acted as though they liked her. Well, I was definitely thrown for a loop. My 12-year-old immediately said, I can't stand her, and my 14-year-old went on a whole rant about how manipulative she is with mummy and how she uses her. She said that she's always criticizing what they, our children, eat and watch on television, and on and on. They both said they love mummy's other friends because they are like second mums to them, whereas Rachel just wants mummy all to herself. My oldest even said that she's very controlling of mummy by always telling her not to do anything physical outside of dance class so as not to injure herself, and therefore be unable to attend her classes. She also said Rachel always makes my wife feel sorry for her about how little money she has, and that my wife pays for everything when they do stuff together. I made a point of just listening and to not try to steer the conversation. Basically, every concern that I have, they have too, and then some. Well, after that illuminating conversation, I thought a mini intervention was in order. So when we got home, I just let the girls repeat to my wife what they had just shared with me. I could see the color go out of my wife's face as they told her their feelings. Apparently, she thought they liked her too. To her credit, she just listened to us and didn't attempt to justify or defend her. I reiterated to her that she is definitely trying to pull her away from us and using every emotional trick in the book to manipulate and isolate her. I also told her about this post and the feedback I received from you all. My wife finally realized what's been happening and even said that she'd noticed for some time how Rachel will compliment her, but also criticize her in the same sentence. Classic carrot and stick control tactic. She said that she felt really stupid for being sucked into this situation, but has had her own suspicions about Rachel's true sexuality and intentions for a while, but dismissed them because she always tells her how much she loves men. So, all that said, we're not there yet, but I'm very hopeful moving forward. After the holidays, we're going to start attending therapy together, and hopefully she gets the tools that we need to fix what's broken. Thanks again for everyone's insight and suggestions. This post was an excellent catalyst for change. In the comments, Trespassers Will says, maybe not exactly good news, but a heartwarming development. Now that your wife is catching on, I bet it will bother her that much more. Best wishes to your family. Hi, OP. So your wife, after listening to your daughters and you, suddenly realized the behavior of your friend. Your wife's relationship with this person goes far beyond the framework of friendship. It's good that she says so, but before rejoicing you, I advise that you observe her actions rather than her words. Will she always go see the show with her? Will she stay late? Will Rachel come back to sleep at your place when you won't be there, etc.? My favorite thing is how he asked the kids their opinion. It's always a classic blunder to underestimate what young people see and understand. Who knows? Maybe this helps OP feel closer to his kids moving forward as well. My bio mother once asked me what I thought of her new best friend. Yet another in a string of real winners. I told her that she picks women who remind her of her mother because she thinks that she can get them to like her when her mother never did. Kids definitely know, even if their parents are a bit clueless, like OP. Sorry, but he lost me at they share a bed together. Well, to be fair, I spent years sharing beds with several of my friends off and on when the situation arose, and only ended up having sex with 4 out of 5 friends. Yeah, it's a really easy and simple mistake to make, sharing a bed with a friend and then only having sex with 80% of them. I'm sure we've all been there, right? Right? I understand why she might want to still be friends with Rachel after this, and it's like, oh yeah, we can put boundaries down, we can salvage this. But I think, for the sanctity of your marriage, and for the well-being of both of you, she needs to be cut off. And unfortunately, I feel like the wife needs to go find some new friends that won't sleep in her marital bed with her. And OP, the fact that your wife was okay with this dynamic, that says a lot about her too. I think she's okay with having these boundaries be pushed. I feel like you both need to get therapy and some counseling to kind of reestablish what normal behavior is, what normal boundaries are. And credit where credit's due. She listened, she reflected, she didn't get defensive. And I don't think your wife was malicious in what she did. I think she was just vulnerable and got pulled into something unhealthy. But at the same time, you cannot let that happen again, ever. Fool me once and all that. Our next post is by user ThrowRA Sisters Wed, and it's titled, Am I the asshole here for telling my parents they deserve to be kicked out of my sister's wedding? So my 37 female, brother Mike, 35 male, is a knob. Always has been and always will be. He's been babied to the point of uselessness by our mum and dad, and that's made him an entitled slob. When he was younger, he showed promise playing rugby, which had my mum and dad believing he was going to be a superstar. The problem was, though, that he never had the work ethic to fully fulfill his potential. However, this meant that he was the golden boy of the family, and he could do no wrong in my parents' eyes. He was a bully at school, which they brushed off as other kids making up lies. But he was an even bigger bully at home to our younger sister Kelly, 31 female. He would constantly prank her, which basically meant he would do anything he could to embarrass her, including things like pulling her dress up in front of the whole family at a wedding when she was 15. Mum and Dad just said that it was siblings being siblings, but the rest of the family were mortified by his behavior. I did try and stick up for my sister, and it worked to a certain extent, but after I went away to uni, which is short for university, there wasn't much that I could do, as Mum and Dad just don't listen to anyone. Oh my god. It got so bad that when she was 18, my sister gave up going to her dream university, St. Andrews, and instead moving to London to go to the Imperial College of London. This was a huge shock to all of us, as she had been talking about St. Andrews since she started high school at 11. When I asked why, she said that St. Andrews was too close to home, and she would be expected to go home more often. But if she went to London, she would only have to go home for Christmas. This broke my heart. After she left, she did exactly that. The only time she was home was Christmas, and when I got married. This really annoyed Mum and Dad, as they said that she was abandoning the family. I kept my mouth shut and just let them whine occasionally, as I didn't want an argument. After graduating from uni, my parents expected her to move back home, but she didn't. She got a job working in southern England and stayed down there. We're from Scotland for reference. 6 years ago, Kelly met a great guy, Jake, 30 male. The day she met him, she called me gushing about him, and I've honestly never heard her speak more about anyone the way she does him. I've met him several times when I've gone down to visit Kelly, and he's great. Good looking, funny, great job. His family are lovely, and most importantly, he treats Kelly like she hung the moon. It's very cute. After she met him, she cut down how much she came home even more, as she spent the first Christmas with his family, and then the pandemic happened, so she ended up not coming home for 3 years. Her first Christmas home, Mike started his usual bullshit, trying to be the center of attention. When it didn't work out as well as he wanted, as most of the family were more interested in getting to know Jake, he then tried to prank Kelly. He got a big bowl of water and was going to pour it all over her. Jake saw what was happening and stepped in front of Kelly, telling Mike to not even think about it. Side note, Jake is 6'3" and has been doing martial arts since he was 4, so he can be very intimidating when needed. Mum and Dad tried to play it off as a harmless prank, but Jake was having none of it. Mike started whining about it just being a prank, and Jake told him that if he pranked Kelly one more time, he would prank Jake by putting his foot up his ass and his fist down his throat. Kelly and Jake left about an hour later, but after that, Mike, Mum and Dad all had an issue with Jake. Kelly hasn't been back home since. That leads us to now. Kelly and Jake are getting married. They sent out invites in February for August. However, they didn't invite Mike. Mum and Dad are obviously incensed by this and had a huge argument with Kelly. They threatened not to go, and Kelly just said, no problem. She would get Granddad to walk her down the aisle. I went around to their house on Saturday with my kids. Immediately, my mum started complaining about Kelly and the wedding. I sat and listened for a while before I'd had enough. I asked her what did she actually expect. Her and Dad have allowed Mike to be the golden child and to get away with everything, and because of that, he can't keep a relationship. And due to him thinking that everyone should do everything for him, he can't hold down a job, because every job is beneath him and he's still living at home with 0 prospects in life. The man-child is a bully who I don't trust to be around my children unsupervised. He bullied Kelly for most of her teen years, and her only escape was to move over 400 miles away and never come home. My mum got very quiet and then asked me to leave. A few hours later, my dad called, going mad because I'd upset my mum and was taking the side of an ungrateful little girl instead of my parents who gave me everything. This started a huge argument between me and him, where I told him that he'd been a crap dad to Kelly and didn't deserve to walk her down the aisle. I've just had enough, but now I've got extended family members telling me that I've gone too far, as my mum is barely speaking to anyone and keeps crying. My granddad said that it was about time that I told them off, but my grandma is upset by all the arguing. So am I the asshole here for telling my parents that they sucked as parents and deserved to be kicked out of my sister's wedding? In the comments, not the asshole. If they can't stand the truth, they need to hibernate. I vote Grandpa walks her down the aisle regardless of who attends. OP says, my sister isn't changing her mind. They aren't going to the wedding no matter what. She only invited them as she thought that it was the right thing to do in the first place, so Granddad will be walking her no matter what. Another commenter says, not the asshole. Your parents failed both of your siblings, and it's going to get worse when they realize your sister won't invite them to her events, and when they realize that their son will become homeless after they pass. Honestly, I'm shocked your brother hasn't been arrested yet. OP says, he has. Multiple times for getting into fights when drunk. Nothing ever comes of it though. Another commenter says, not the asshole. Truth hurts, and that's why your mother is so upset. About time someone said something. OP says, I think this is true. She isn't arguing that I'm wrong, she just went quiet and hasn't spoken to me since. I think my words hit her hard, and that's why she's so upset. Your mum's tears are her own doing. She ignores her daughter being treated like shit for years, and then instead of owning it, she tries to play the whole, woe is me, I'm crying, so you can't possibly be upset with me. It's actually pathetic, and your sister is better off far away from your family. Maybe you could join her and also get away from the toxicity. Not the asshole. OP says, I've already said that to my husband that I don't want to be around my family for Christmas, so we are going to his. If they all carry on, then I'm going no contact fully. When asked, did someone bully Mike prior to his bullying Kelly? OP says, it's never happened. He was always the bully. Even when he was 4 or 5, he was moved class as he was bullying one of his classmates. OP on her kids being around her parents. My kids have never been around my parents without either myself or my husband, as I know they would let my brother be around them unsupervised. They won't be going anywhere near my parents for a long while. They don't like going to my parents' house anyway. Another commenter asks, have they pampered and spoiled Mike because he's the only boy? Bless you and Jake for being in Kelly's corner. And OP says, my dad loves rugby. It's pretty much all he talks about, and he's down at the rugby club every chance he gets. So it's more about him having talent in the sport, which he did. He was told by scouts when he was 13 that he could be in the back row for Scotland one day. He was that good. The favoritism started after that, as that made him special to mum and dad. However, he didn't have the work ethic and couldn't keep up with play as he wasn't fit enough, so he got dropped. And now, on to the update. Hi all. This post took off a lot more than I thought it would. There was way too many comments for me to respond to, but I tried to read every one of them. I was asked for an update, so here it is. There were a few things that came up repeatedly, so I'll address them first. The pranks only started after I'd left or gone to uni. He would say things to Kelly and I would have a go back at him when we were younger, but it wasn't anything more than that until after I'd left home, so there wasn't anything that I could really do to stop it. I did speak to our parents, but they're useless. Second thing was about my kids. I didn't bring my kids around them very much, as they didn't like going to my parents' house. They said it was boring and they don't like Mike. However, after all the comments I got about this, I sat them down and asked them again. For my daughter, it really is just that she finds it boring and says that Mike is a weirdo. My son, however, said that he doesn't like being around my dad as he keeps trying to make him play rugby. I've heard these comments and told my dad to drop it, but he would still make the comments occasionally. I had no idea that it was upsetting my son, so this surprised me. My son doesn't like sports, be it watching or playing. He's very much like his dad in that regard. He's a Pokemon kid, playing online, and goes every Thursday evening to play in a tournament at our local card shop. So rugby is an absolute no-go for him. The third thing was about security at the wedding. I spoke to Kelly and Jake said that 2 of his groomsmen are police officers who are aware of the situation, so that won't be a problem. Lastly, there was a lot of comments about Mike being the golden child. For a bit more backstory, he wasn't really the favourite until his talent in rugby came to light. After that, he was special and had to be treated that way. I think he was seen as mum and dad's way of being special themselves within the family as they had such a super talented child. Anyway, today I decided to sit down with my parents and tell them that I needed a break from them. When I got there, my dad immediately wanted me to apologize to my mum, but I said that that wasn't going to happen. There was a bit of back and forth between him and I until my mum stepped in and asked why I was there, if not to apologize. I told them that I'd spoken to Kelly and she didn't want them at the wedding at all, that they needed to stay away and respect her decision. They weren't happy, but said they wouldn't go where they weren't wanted. I then told them that I wanted space until after the wedding, as I couldn't keep being around them and keeping my mouth shut. I thought that space would be good for all of us. My mum wasn't happy and started on about seeing my kids. I told them the truth. My kids hated coming to their house and told my dad exactly why my son doesn't want to be around him. He got upset by this and said that rugby would be good for him. I shut that down and said I'm not going to force my son to do something that he doesn't want to do and something I know he will hate. I also told him that if I hear him mention it around my son again, then he won't see my son again. Right now, they will only be seeing my kids at family events, so I'm hoping that it won't be a problem. I then asked them what their long-term plan was with Mike. Are they going to keep things the way they are until they're 90 and Mum will still be making all his meals? What happens when they're gone? Who will look after him? Because it won't be me. What happens if they get ill? Who will look after them? Mike is incapable, Kelly lives down south, and I plan on moving back to my husband's hometown 3 hours away once the kids have left home. So I can't do it. They just looked at me blankly. I really don't think that they had ever even thought about any of that before. I told them that they'd set Mike up to fail, and now they needed to deal with it. I also told them that I knew that they were leaving everything to him in their will, but that with how they have babied Mike, he would blow through that money in less than a year. And then what? I could see the panic in my mum's eyes when I said that. She either hadn't thought about it, or she thought that I would look after him, which she now knows isn't gonna happen. I also think she was shocked that I knew about their will. After me telling them what low contact with me was gonna look like going forward, and them not being happy about it, I left. Hopefully I've given them a lot to think about. I will check in with them from time to time, but that's all right now. I'm going to visit Kelly in the next couple of weeks, so I'm looking forward to that. My extended family have also backed off after I sent them all a text saying if they were so concerned about my mum, then they could be her support system and deal with Mike the same way Kelly and I have had to for years. Not surprisingly, none of them wanted to. Otherwise, I'm just going to try and get on with things as normal. Thanks for the not the arsehole verdict and all the advice. It opened my eyes to a few things that I'd been brushing off. Quick update. Hi all. Sorry I went MIA, but I've been super busy. Not with this issue, but just with life in general. So Kelly got married last weekend and everything went without a hitch. Our parents and Mike didn't even try to attend, but I know that Mum did try and contact her a few times before the wedding via other family members. Kelly wasn't interested and made that clear by not responding and or threatening the family member that they would be uninvited as well. That put an end to it. Mike is still a drain on society according to a cousin of ours. I don't know firsthand as I've not been in contact with him at all. I've spoken to Mum and Dad once since the last post, and they haven't changed, so I don't have the energy to deal with them. My kids don't miss them one bit either, so it's not been a problem keeping the kids away from them. Right now, I'm just going to get on with my life, my husband, and my kids. I've been talking to Kelly a lot more since all of this, which is a huge positive to come out of it. Sorry that there were no dramatics, like Mike and our parents trying to storm the wedding, but everything went smoothly. Thanks for all the comments and advice to my previous posts. Some progress. Hi all. I said I would update if anything changed, and something has started to. I think my mum has finally woken up and seen the light when it comes to Mike. It was my son's birthday 2 weeks ago, and my mum reached out to say that she had gotten him some presents. I was a little reluctant to accept the presents, as in the past they've all been rugby-based, but she promised that they weren't this time. So I let her come around to my house and give them to my son. Turns out, my son is easily bored. A friend of my mum's had gone to Seoul on holiday in October, and my mum asked her to bring back some Pokemon cards if she could find any. My son loves Asian Pokemon cards, and has a whole separate binder just for them. She brought back 20 packs for him. My mum also got him a Pokemon backpack and a teddy and a Funko Pop of his favorite Pokemon. She had really put a lot of thought into what he likes, and even gone to our local card shop and had asked there about what to get him. Needless to say, my son was ecstatic. To me, this showed that she was really trying, and after that, I agreed to meet her for lunch a few days later. She told me that her and my dad were fighting all the time because of Mike. She had to put her foot down and said that Mike needs to get a job and stick with it, and that she isn't going to give him any more money. My dad defended Mike, no surprise there, and said that he just needed more time to find himself. This has led to loads of arguments and my mum going on strike. She isn't cooking for either my dad or Mike, and isn't doing their washing or ironing. This is something she had done before when she is royally pissed off. She said that I was right when I told her that they weren't helping Mike by babying him and he needed to grow up. I was a little shocked by this, but very happy about it. I am speaking to her regularly again, and she seems to be adamant about Mike getting and keeping a job. I'm still a bit reluctant to trust her fully, as she could very easily go back to how she was before, but I'm calling this a little bit of progress. My dad still has his head up his ass though. No change there. Anyway, I had a spare 10 minutes and thought that I'd keep you all updated. We will see how Christmas goes and if Mum backs down, but fingers crossed that she's turned the corner. In the comments, it's good to see some progress in these shite parent-family dynamics. The father thinks the son shines out of his son's rear end. Age 35 and still finding himself? Father is truly delusional. If mother sticks to her guns, I can see a huge fight between mother and father over inheritance, because father will want it all to go to son, so he can keep finding himself. Thing is, Mike has tried finding himself in the same roughly 3 places: room, shops, night out, for 35 years. He's gonna need to start looking in some new places, and a workplace is a good opener. It's never too late, but damn. If only Mum had come around sooner. It just sucks that so much damage has had to happen before any reckoning, especially when the collateral affects other people. And it wasn't even being disinvited to her daughter's wedding that did it. It was probably OP questioning them about what would happen to Mike after they're gone. So odds are, Mum didn't even realize how horribly she'd gone wrong until it concerned Mike instead of her other children. But to bring back some positivity, props to her for remembering her grandson's interest in Pokemon and his favorite, which is a hard thing to do when there's over 1,000 of them. I didn't expect this story to get so many updates personally, but hey, I'm glad that there is some progress being forced through with your mum, because that dynamic with Mike was never sustainable, and finally, she's feeling the consequences of decades of enabling. And I think what she's shown with your son shows that she can change when she actually listens instead of defaulting to this bullshit favoritism denial that she's been in for so long. That's good progress. I respect her for that. And you're right to keep your guard up in this situation, OP. You know, just because she's done this one good thing here, that doesn't erase a lifetime of bullshit that she's put you through. Especially considering the fact that your dad is still doubling down on all of this right now. You keeping your boundaries firm and giving them the wake-up slap that they needed is at least what caused this shift in your mum. So I have no doubt you will keep up those boundaries, and if she continues this positive trend of change, perfect, exceptional, but if she backslides, well, you guys are going to be fine without them. They're the ones stuck with that pisser. And most importantly of all, Kelly is happy. The kids are all good. You guys have a calm, lovely life. You guys win. Anyway, guys, that's all I have for you today. I do hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.